you. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you all had a nice lunch, a nice break, networking sessions, whatever it is. I'm Laura Evans-Manitas, President and CEO of Laura Evans Media, former journalist. Wanted to focus on not the worst of the worst in our world, but the best of the best, people who are creating solutions for our world, lifting us up, and solving some of the biggest problems. So I'm really honored to be here and excited to introduce you to some of our panels this afternoon. This one I'm really excited about. For those of you who love music, we have a very exciting session. We will be joined by the Grammy President Panos A. Panay, Jake Groshong, CEO of Playing for Change, and singer and songwriter Aloe Blacc. They're going to be talking about the power of music and culture in social change and diplomacy. So please welcome to the stage Jake Groshong, Panos Panay, and Aloe Blacc.
Well, thank you all for being here. Gentlemen, it's such a pleasure to be sitting here with you both. I'm obviously big fans of both of your work, and I'm really proud that we get to present the power of social change through music. So I want to start off by saying, I am the CEO of Playing for Change Foundation, and at Playing for Change, is my mic on? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. At Playing for Change, we use music and culture to create social change, but we do that by addressing things locally. We're going into communities around the world, and we're in 26 countries with over 85 locations. And we're using music and culture that is designed by each community individually to create a future for the kids that have lost their own identity, right? So we're in refugee camps, in slums, favelas, really rough areas around the world. And we have found that the heartbeat of social change is music. Now, I'd love to hear, Panos, if you want to get us started. You've been in this industry for a while. What have you seen that has made you understand that power?
I mean, first of all, I'll start with my own personal story. I grew up in a small country called Cyprus. And, at the time, frankly, the notion that I'd be doing the gig that I'm doing right now would have been about as close as me going to the moon. So music, even for me growing up, was a means to imagining and aspiring to a different future. And I learned English listening to music. I mean, I still have word associations with specific songs. But even more importantly, throughout my career, I was a talent agent. I was an entrepreneur that I ran and started one of the early online platforms of music. And then I was at Berklee College of Music in charge of expanding the school globally, and now at the Recording Academy. I've just seen how music is this magical key that unlocks all kinds of doors and opens minds and opens hearts and creates the kinds of connections that, frankly, no other art form has the ability to do.
Yeah, and Aloe, on that note, you came into the music industry with a real focus on social change. So where does that come from for you?
Yeah, for me, it absolutely comes from looking at some of my heroes and my mentors in the music business. I think about the dramatic power of music to transform social relationships. Just the power of music in the civil rights movement in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Looking at one of my heroes like Louis Armstrong, who helped to humanize the Black condition in the United States, bringing jazz into the homes of white families, and his voice and his trumpet. And then my mentor, the late, great Harry Belafonte, who did the same with his music, with his face on screen, with his influence behind the scenes as an agent of change in the civil rights movement. Music was hugely responsible for helping to transform the racial dynamic in the U.S. And of course, culture in a lot of ways around the world.
Yeah,
and just real quick, look at the role that music played even during the Cold War, even down to the fall of the Berlin Wall, right? And I think it's a reaffirmation of our common humanity, but also, to Aloe's point, it's able to take narratives and put them through a translator that enables all of us to connect with a concept or with a movement in a very different, visceral way than just reading about it or listening to a speech.
You know, it's fun. We were talking earlier about in Brazil, for example, one of the places we have programs, the favelas are run by the gangs, right? The people can't go in, the government can't go in, but we can go in. Because the reality is they don't want their kids to have their life, right? They can't have the government go in, but I get to go and sit with those gang leaders, and I get to explain to them that your kids can have the life you want them to have if you allow them to have access to their own culture. And we've seen this around the world, you know, from in Nepal, where girls now in our programs are going to school full time, when before they would be married at 13, to our programs in Morocco, where we're fighting desertification and pushing back the Sahara Desert from eating towns alive. It all starts from music in every location. And it's the tool we have to bring every one of these communities together. Now, Panos, you have some exciting things you're working on right now. Do you want to give a few details?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it brief since we only have 13 minutes and 54 seconds. Yeah. But the Recording Academy, which is the organization that is behind the Grammy Awards. Everybody knows the Grammy Awards. I think I'm even listed as CEO of as president of the Grammy Awards, but I'm president of the Recording Academy. And it's an organization that ultimately represents 22,000 members. So whatever you see as the Grammy Awards, and whoever gets a Grammy Award, don't blame me, blame the 22,000 voting members of the Recording Academy. But ultimately, it's an organization. It's a beautiful construct because it's an organization ran by creatives in support of creatives, advocating for what I think is the most important citizen in society, and that is the creative class. For the last 65 years, the Academy has primarily operated in America. So what we call the Grammys is in fact should be called the American Grammys because they represent the cultural output of music that is released in America. But it's a big world. There's 8+ billion people. There's culture everywhere. There's talent everywhere. 25 years ago, we started the Latin Academy that does the Latin Grammys. And we think that through that effort, we played a key role in amplifying the impact and the reach of Latin culture to a whole different group of people. Now, since I've joined about 3.5 years ago, we've been embarking on a strategy to expand the organization globally. So we announced our expansion into 2 new regions in Africa and the Middle East, have an ambition by the end of the decade to be around the world. But for me, it's not just about an award, but it's more about how do you use this platform of an organization that binds creatives together to advance economies, advance social understanding, go in areas where, frankly, music, even until recently, may have been outlawed, and change those narratives, change what's possible for a young girl growing somewhere in the Middle East that 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, the concept of her becoming an engineer or a producer would be unimaginable. Probably she wouldn't even know what an engineer or a producer is. Yeah. So we see this expansion effort first and foremost not as an effort to create an award show. That's just a means to an end. I call it the graduation ceremony. It's the 4 years of college that matters, not the one day of graduation. So what we're doing as an academy is bringing that message to other parts of the world.
Yeah, and Aloe, we have to touch on your exciting things. And can you explain how music played such a key role into what you're doing now?
Well, there's a few things. What I do right now as a musician, as an artist, is try to use my voice for positive social transformation. So writing songs, I'm working on a catalog of songs that are inspired by and in service of nonprofit organizations, social missions. I've written a song called Shine for the Aurora Prize for Awakening Humanity. This is an organization that offers a $1 million prize to laureates who are working in the face of mortal danger to save the lives, improve the lives, and enhance the lives of people within their communities. Doctors that are repairing women from war violence, doctors that are helping refugee camps, and amazing freedom fighters. These are the kinds of songs that I want to write and add to the lexicon of music so that my peers may be inspired to do the same. Nobody needs to hear me sing another song about how I'm sad about a heartbreak, but I'd love to be able to write songs that can amplify the message of actual heroes who are doing the work on the front lines. I'd like to write songs that can inspire citizens in every community to take up the role of leader and create a nonprofit organization to help their communities. And I'd like to write songs that can be part of a legacy of the folks that I admire the most, who would write those kinds of songs. You know, the Pete Seegers and the Nina Simones and the Marvin Gayes of the past. And, you know, music is also a key. Music has given me the opportunity not just to be an artist in front of my fans, but then to, you know, work with scientists. I've started a biotech company in order to advance new treatments to save lives across multiple conditions, from oncology to infectious disease to immune dysregulation. And the power of my music affords me the opportunity to knock on doors that otherwise are not open to founders, new founders, and entrepreneurs. So I get to talk to people along the spectrum of the pharmaceutical industry, the regulators, the scientists, in order to proselytize this new technology and hopefully eventually save some lives.
And I think the overarching question here is why music, right? Like, what is it about music that is able to break down these barriers that other things cannot get through? And I think that one thing, music is our universal language, right? We all can speak music, no matter where you're from. You understand it. You can go into any culture and you're dancing with whatever they're doing. You feel it. It's within you, whether you admit it or not. If you watched a movie without music, you'd be bored out of your mind, right? It's very important. It's part of our just infrastructure, our DNA of who we are. But it also has the ability to bring people together who may have lost who they are and where they come from. And that's what we're really dealing with here around the world at Playing for Change. Is these are communities that have been destroyed. And how do we give that next generation their identity back so they can believe they have a future? And it is through music and culture that we build that identity. Now, Panos, why music for you?
Because, I mean, as you said, Jake, music is something that, you know, predates language. You know, arguably most people will tell you that language is a form of musical expression, but it's guttural. It's in every cell and every in our fiber, and it's in nature, it's in the universe. And I think there's just something on a very deep level that speaks to us. It's almost untranslatable as to why. But even more importantly, I see and have always seen music, because even though I've been in business, on the business side of music my entire career, I went to college for music. I was and still am a musician, and I think more like a musician from a creative standpoint in terms of what I do and how I manage and what I do in work than I've thought of as, let's say, a traditional business person. And it's because I think music equips us with certain tools that are applicable and translatable in other disciplines. We were talking about this on our lunch, but you know, whether it's your instinct to collaborate, to pay attention and to listen, to be open to stimuli that most people miss, right? Or the ability to iterate through something. These are instincts that I think are translatable beyond just the musical realm.
Yeah.
But then more importantly, just like Aloe was saying, man, I've seen, you know, what I love about being at the Academy is the tremendous strength of this platform. You know, when we travel to countries, we meet with presidents of the countries, not because they're just, I mean, there's a fascination, of course, with celebrity, but to your point, how are you using that to do good? And if that gets you into the room, how are you using that access to do good? So as Aloe was saying, I've seen the transformational power of music, not just in terms of changing narratives, but more importantly, in opening the kinds of doors that are shut closed for 99.999% of other activities, But you meet somebody you've never met in your life, and you talk about a song that meant something to you. If it means something to them, you have an instant connection. End of story, right? Or a band. And no matter where you go in this world, you have those, experiences all the time. Even with people who don't speak your language, never met you, are from a totally different socioeconomic background than you, that's undeniable.
Yeah, I would say I agree with everything you said, and I would add that arguably music is the most pervasive and ubiquitous storytelling tool and modality that we have. You think about a song, right? It's a 3-minute format of storytelling, and it's something that you can ingest, you could probably comprehend, and you can probably retell in 3 minutes. Different from a newscast, which may last a little bit longer, or a film or a book, which takes a little bit longer to process and regurgitate. So if we can use music as a modality for transferring knowledge, information, culture, celebration, commiseration, I think that's really why music is such an important part of our fabric, why I think it's an important part of a tool for diplomacy, a tool for transforming the cultural elements of transferring information about safety, information about your citizenry, and how you show up as a global citizen and as a local citizen. I love that everybody has a relationship with music. And the few people who don't, you can see them right away. You can tell them. But most people have a song or something that has impacted their life and that they can return to. And to use music as a tool in the way that you have, Panos, when you're saying that presidents or leaders of companies and countries want to utilize music as that entry point in order just to have those conversations or to break ice with other generations or demographics, hugely important. I'm so glad that I get an opportunity to be part of that, and on both sides, whether it's in the boardroom or on the stage.
Yeah, and music is in its base a collaborative art form, right? Like music comes together. Yes, you might write a song in your bedroom, but you're recording it with a group of people, you're playing it for an audience, and in that audience you're seeing people from all walks of life, right? Like music is the one thing that we can all agree on. We can all agree that we love this song. Whether we agree on anything else doesn't matter. But what music does, and I have some examples even in this room, I just partnered on a new program in Ukraine, right, where we're teaching in bomb shelters to kids music. And Christoph, our partner, is here. Thank you. We just opened that last week. We all have other partners here from the UNFPA. Thank you, yeah. UNFPA, where we launched the Body Right campaign, which is about gender violence online, right? And the way that our image is being abused. We have people throughout this whole conference that are already using music as a tool, and they don't even know that music is part of the key, right? So what I want to do to close out with you guys, because we have 1 minute and 37 seconds, is for the next, take 30 seconds to talk about where you see music taking you in the next 5 years.
You want me to do this in 1 minute?
No, I want you to. You're gonna have 24 seconds.
Look, I'm just gonna sort of build on the same point we were bringing up. I'd like to take me to places where we can make a real difference. I'd like to take me and this organization to places where a young child growing up is able to aspire to a different future because music is the gateway drug, if you will, for them to do that. Whether they become a musician or not,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's a path. It's an avenue for them, just like it's been for me and billions of people around the world.
Yeah, I would like to use music to partner with organizations to improve and impact the lives of citizens throughout the United States and across the world. I've had established a relationship with an organization called Stand Together, which champions the community leaders in order to really impact communities. And I want to stand together with people who are willing to align to do good. And if we can find something that we agree on, that we can impact together, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to go and how I see the next 5 years.
And on that note, just to close out, collaboration is everything, right? All of our programs are built on collaboration. Every location we have is a separate collaboration of organizations coming together to create change. So we're collaborating. We want to keep collaborating. So take this message of music and please bring opportunities where we can create change together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.